The Sig P320 was introduced in 2014 in 9mm and eventually in all of our favorite calibers, including, of course, God's caliber, the 45 ACP, and the monster 10mm. The P320 has absolutely knocked the legs out from under Glock, definitely out from under Beretta, and maybe literally unintentionally knocked the legs out from under a few of its owners. We'll talk more about that later. Now, no judgment on my part. I'm just going to share information and discuss the facts about what appears to be the ever popular P320. My name is Dwayne, and this is The Gun Show. So, of course, the P320 is a striker-fired polymer frame double stack modular semi-automatic. It was designed to be ambidextrous, so it's lefty friendly. You got the catch lever on both sides, you got the reversible magazine release, and all of the operating controls are designed so that left-handed people are going to be just as happy as right-handed people. It is very cool in that it can be stripped with no tools, and actually you don't even have to depress the trigger. All you do is flip the takedown lever and the slides right off. Also, you can get it completely apart. And this is one of the coolest things about it, in my opinion. You can turn it into 3 pieces in probably 10 seconds. The fire control unit is the part of the P320 that is your serialized part. So you can, as I mentioned, get it apart very quickly with no tools. After you pull that slide off, you kind of pull up on the trigger and that fire control unit comes completely out. That's your serialized part. That contains all of your, of course, I'm a Glock person, so I'm thinking, once you have that slide off, you've got a couple pins you got to take out. You got to pull. It's really hard to get the trigger and all that to pull out of there. The Sig is not like that. The 320 is not like that at all. Pull up on the trigger from inside of the trigger guard, and it just pops right out. And if you had it laying out in front of you, then you would have the fire control unit. You would have the lower frame of the gun, and then you would have the slide. Now, so that fire control unit can be pulled out, and you can have pretty much, let's say, like a compact 9mm that you're carrying, and then you're going to the range on Saturday, so you just pop out that fire control unit and you put it in your big full-size range gun competition target model, whatever, and it literally takes just a snap of the fingers to do that. Now, it seems like the 45 and the 10mm fire control unit was compatible, and the 9 and the 357 and the 40 was all compatible, but you could not put the 45 and the 10 down to the others, or vice versa. You had to swap out a few other things, like the takedown lever was different, the slide catch was different, and it seems like a lot of people online were commenting that by the time you've spent the extra money and time to do that, you might as well have just bought the different FCU anyway. If you guys disagree with that, please do comment. Let me know your thoughts on that, for those of you who've had that, who've tried that. So I think it can be done. It's just seems like maybe it's not worth it. You're better off to just buy the other fire control unit. Now, I did want to try to find some definitive sales data comparing the P320 to the Glock 19 specifically, because Glock 19 had been king for so long. But I couldn't really find any. Now, you can find some people saying some numbers, and you can find some articles that report different numbers, but I couldn't find any of those articles that had verifiable sources. So I went to Gunbroker and checked out their information. They put out their yearly. They actually put it out monthly, and I went and checked Gunbroker's data on when did the P320 become the top dog. I knew it had, but I didn't know how long it took for it to overtake Glock. Of course, this information is out there for you guys to look at if you want all of the detailed numbers, but pretty much the overview is, of course, the P320 was released in 2014. Glock remained king until 2017. The P365 actually took over for a few years, and the P320 finally got on top of the list in 2021, and it has been on top since then. 2021, 2022, 2023. At least according to Gunbroker's data, the most popular semi-automatic pistol they've sold is the Sig P320 for the last 3 years. Now, additionally, This goes back to taking the legs out from under. I guess that's how it took the legs out from under Glock. It took the legs out from under Beretta because in 2017 it won the U.S. military's modular handgun system competition. And that would be in the M17 and the compact M18, which is basically just the full-size P320 or the compact P320. And Beretta had had that contract for more than 30 years, so that was a really big deal that Sig won that. The Army got their first SIGs in 2017, the Air Force in 2019, and more recently the Marines. I struggled to find some clear data regarding the Navy. It seems like maybe the Navy does now issue the SIGs, but the Navy SEALs still use the Glock 19. You guys let me know in the comments what is accurate there. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between the M17 and the P320. So all of the M17s, the M18s, they are tan. In the civilians models, you can get tan, but they're also available in black and some other configurations. The military's versions are tan. They all have that manual ambidextrous thumb safety. You can get that in the civilian models if you want it, but most of the civilian models do not have it. The military models, the M17 and the M18, they absolutely have the thumb safety. M17, M18 has a low-profile slide stop. They've got factory night sights, but you can put an optic on it. It is specifically designed for the Leupold Delta Point Pro. It's also worth mentioning that the military wanted the M18 and the M17 to be completely interchangeable. So you'll notice when you look at the M17 specifically, the frame stops short of the end of the slide. And that was so everything could be completely interchangeable between the two. If you look at the civilian models, the 320, like a full-size, comparing a compact, of course the full-size frame runs all the way to the end of the slide. The compact, if you were to try to put it on it might fit, but it wouldn't go the other way, whereas the M17 and the M18, completely interchangeable. Of course, both your mags fit, all the different mags fit on that's for the military and the civilian version both. Those are easily swappable. One of the least noticeable changes was the use of spanner screws. The SIG in the M18 and the M17 have spanner screws, and the military wanted that to reduce the risk of any kind of unauthorized disassembly procedures. Worthy of note, just because it's really beautiful, the 3rd Infantry Battalion of the U.S. Army, who tend to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Memorial at Arlington National Cemetery, they have 4 special Sig P320s. They are absolutely beautiful. Their names are Silence, Respect, Dignity, and Perseverance. All of these are metal-framed, all-black M17s, and as I mentioned, those are the only 4 that are in existence. So that was absolutely beautiful firearm. Honestly, in my opinion, probably one of the prettiest pistols that I've seen. Well, let's talk a little bit about the problems that I had alluded to earlier in regard to knocking the feet out from under maybe some of the owners that have had the P320. One quick one that we'll get out of the way because it was dismissed. Steyr filed a patent infringement lawsuit against SIG in 2017, and they lost it. So I guess that's just worthy to note, but Steyr did lose that. The biggest heat that has come upon SIG because of the P320 are drop fire and unintentional fire issues. To understand that, I think we need to understand how the trigger is a little bit different from what we're used to. So like take a Glock, for instance. Their trigger has the 3 independent safety mechanisms that disengage in sequence. So of course you have to disengage you have to begin to pull the trigger safety disengages. Then there's an internal firing pin safety at that point that has to disengage, and then the internal drop safety. These 3 re-engage as the trigger is reset. The SIG lacks the external safety at all, except for the models that you can get with the thumb safety, but there's not a trigger safety, and they have 2 internal safety mechanisms. Now, it's one of these internal safety mechanisms that is really the one that seems to be getting called to the carpet for maybe causing some issues. There's a safety lock tab and a safety to keep this SIG from firing when the slide is drawn backwards, but it's the safety lock tab that seems to be causing most of the problems. Now, it was designed to block the striker from springing forward to detonate a round. The SIG is sort of a kind of a, some people have said it's like a ticking time bomb, because that spring is fully engaged and fully loaded, and when you pull the trigger, it's not like you're not doing anything to that spring. You're just beginning to release that safety lock tab, and as it moves out of the way, then boom, your firing pin has a clear path to the primer. The problem, per the reports and some of the testing that I found online, is that the safety lock tab requires so little trigger movement to move out of the way that it's absolutely dangerous. One legal team indicated that it required 0.075 inches. That is barely over 1/16 of an inch. It just required that much movement of the trigger for that to be disengaged. Definitely seems to be a problem to me. But regardless of what you think about it, the civilian complaints anyway, when the military was testing the P320 in 2016, prior to adopting it as their primary choice, they noted around 200 malfunctions and demanded that SIG address the problem, only agreeing to accept it after they had installed those external manual safeties that we do now find on all of the M17s and M18s. And you can get those on the civilian models, as I alluded to earlier, but only on a few of them. But now all of the militaries have those thumb safeties. Now, SIG denied any concern at that time, but they did put the thumb safeties on, and the military felt good enough about it to go ahead and knock Beretta out of the way and pick up the SIG instead. So there's that. Now, in regard to the civilian or the public complaints outside of the military, some of these do involve some law enforcement, but civilian and law enforcement, not military. In July 2017, the Dallas Police Department instructed all of their personnel to stop carrying it pending an investigation. There were concerns, of course, that the discharge might be happening when it was unintended, specifically when it hit the ground at a certain angle. So if the gun was dropped and hit the ground, it appeared as though it was going off. SIG denied that there was a concern, but they did issue a notice to anyone that had a P320 that was made up to that time. You could send it in, and they would give you an upgrade, I guess, beefing up on that internal safety for those who wanted to do it. But they denied any concern, and you didn't have to do it, and didn't seem like there was no legal action that required SIG to have to do that. The Washington Post and The Trace did an investigation and found more than 100 people who say that their P320 has discharged with no trigger pressure. At least 80 of them were wounded as a result. This was pre-upgrade and post-upgrade P320s. Currently, as of right now in 2024, SIG is in court with 20 different plaintiffs from 13 different states who claim all of the same thing, that the trigger will go off without them intending it to, and SIG maintains that it is user error and that there is nothing wrong with their firearm. Now, there have been two other lawsuits that I'm familiar with, one of them in 2018 for all the same reasons. It did end in a settlement, and one in 2019 that was dismissed. Now, you can do a quick Google search and find that there are various law enforcement agencies across the United States that have discontinued the use of the P320. Wisconsin, Connecticut, Florida, police forces in those states specifically, at least some of them have, and there were many more. Again, a quick Google search will show you lots of articles on that if you want to go down that rabbit trail. But SIG continues to deny that there is any true problem. Now, you can go on their website and see how many models they've got. They've got 27 per my count. 3 of them had the thumb safety. But it seems like most people are not having, as a whole, are not having these problems that a select few seems to be having. So, again, I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to share the information. One thing that seems clear is that it is dang popular. It doesn't matter how many written reviews you go through. Now, every now and again there's a dud, but it is impressive how many written reviews that you can find online. And you can go to YouTube and find the video reviews. The vast majority of people absolutely love the SIG. And I saw over and over again that they were commenting that it shot way better than they could, or it is capable of shooting way better than they, the shooter, were capable of. So it speaks for itself. The military picked it. It's overtaking Glock in sales, or at least according to Gunbroker's data, and that's some pretty good data. The people who speak about it and the people who are doing the reviews are saying it's excellent, And I have had it in my hand once. I got to shoot probably just one mag worth of range time with it. It was the 40 cal. I don't remember disliking it. It was just I think it was an ammunition issue. My friend who had brought it just didn't have much ammo, so I want to get my hands on it again. I do remember that I didn't dislike what little I shot it. I definitely want to shoot it again. So, like it or not, the Sig P320 seems to be here to stay because it looks like most people do like it. And they do like it a whole lot, including the United States military. Appreciate you guys for checking out Hunt, Shoot, Live. My name is Dwayne. This is The Gun Show.